So in Call of Duty Zombies, we have many different types of Easter eggs. We have interactive ones, non-interactive ones such as ciphers, messages. We have Easter eggs that we press buttons on and they do things. We have Easter eggs inside of maps, outside of maps such as on Zetsuben Oshima when we could see the monster Cthulhu roaming in the background. When you hear the word Easter egg in COD Zombies, that Easter egg could be anything. Every little detail in this game mode, whether it relates to the storyline or the gameplay, was carefully, or I should say used to be carefully thought out by Treyarch, and so things that perhaps you wouldn't think mean anything, do. Little details in maps such as the initials JD, symbols, drawings, random words, quotes that our characters say. As I've always said, everything in Zombies means something, especially in Treyarch's games. But the reason I'm talking about this is because I was just thinking the other day, in the map 5 and Classified, which is the remade version, down in the laboratories, spread all throughout this area are pigs. There is one of them that is alive hanging and all of the rest are dead. And I just randomly thought, is there a deeper meaning behind this? Is there a reason that Treyarch added all of these pigs into the laboratories in 5 in the Pentagon, other than the obvious answer that they were used as test subjects and experiments? That is the first thing that would come to mind, similar to the monkeys that we find on Ascension. We know the Ascension group were injecting these monkeys with a serum so that they could survive in space. These pigs were test subjects for the Americans. But like some other Easter eggs in Zombies, is there actually real life meaning behind this? Did Treyarch get some real life inspiration here? So I searched up Pentagon pigs, and a few different articles came up from Wired, ABC News, The Independent, which was titled Pentagon, Zombie Pigs First, then Hibernating Soldiers. Now what's coincidental about this is this article came out in December of 2009, and strangely enough, the map 5 released just a year after, or almost a year, in November of 2010, which would have been the period in which Treyarch was still making the map. So it's very likely that Treyarch got inspiration from this news that broke during the time that 5 was being made. I will link this article from Wired down in the description. Like I said, there are other ones as well, but they wrote around half of US troop fatalities are caused by blood loss from battlefield injuries. Now, with another 30,000 troops deployed in Afghanistan, the Pentagon is pushing for medical advances that can save more lives during combat. The Defense Department's latest research idea, stop bleeding injuries by turning pigs into semi-undead. If it works out, we humans could be the next ones to be zombified. Military's mad science arm, DARPA, has awarded $9.9 million to the Texas A&M Institute for preclinical studies to develop treatments that can extend a golden period when injured warfighters have the best chance of coming back from massive blood loss. Odds of survival plummet after an hour. During combat, that kind of quick evacuation, triage and treatment is often impossible. The Institute's research will be based on previous DARPA-funded efforts. One project at Stanford University hypothesizes that humans could one day mimic the hibernation abilities of a squirrel, who emerged from winter months no worse for wear, using a pancreatic enzyme we have in common with the critters. Dr. Mark Roth used nematode worms and rats to test how hydrogen sulfide could block the body's ability to use oxygen, creating a kind of suspended animation where hearts stop beating and wounds don't bleed. After removing 60% of the rat's blood, Dr. Roth managed to keep the critters alive for 10 hours using this hydrogen sulfide cocktail. The next logical step, try the same on pigs. They've got a similar cardiovascular system to humans, and researchers think they can accurately predict human results from the swine trials. Using anesthetized pigs, the doctors are testing various compounds, some containing hydrogen sulfide, to find one that can safely keep the hemorrhaging animals as close to death as possible. With a 15-person team working exclusively on this project, the Institute anticipates successful results within 18 months. Dr. Miller said DARPA wanted this to happen yesterday because it was needed yesterday. Once the team comes up with the right elixir, it'll undergo federal mandate safety testing. After that, the zombie vaccine will be sent to the battlefield for human application. Dr. Fossen predicts that each soldier will carry a syringe into combat zones or remote areas, and medical teams will be equipped with several. A single injection will minimize metabolic needs, de-animating injured troops by shutting down brain and heart function, and then once treatment is carried out, they'll be reanimated and hopefully as good as new. So in 2009, whilst 5 was being developed, there were a bunch of articles that came out talking about how the Pentagon were pushing for medical advances that could save lives during combat, and one of their ideas involved stopping bleeding injuries by turning pigs into the semi-undead. Since pigs have a similar cardiovascular system to humans, they were doing these test trials on pigs to see if they could, in a way, zombify them, shut down their organs so that the bleeding would stop, and then, when it was safe to do so, reanimate them again, bring them back to life in a place that they could be treated safely, which is essentially in our world in Call of Duty, I guess similar to how zombies do work. Back in the day in Darius World at War, we learned that in order to turn into a zombie, first you have to die, you then become infected with 115 and you get reanimated. So you are deanimated and then reanimated. And we have here the Pentagon deanimating these pigs and then reanimating them, bringing them back from the dead as the undead. And they were doing these experiments on pigs to hopefully one day do the same things on humans and save lives. And it says right at the end, even though they plan to use this in combat at first, hopefully one day it could be something much bigger. Now it's explained to us in 5 and especially classified why we see these pigs in the Pentagon. As you can see on this blueprint, their DNA was used to make the Nova 6 crawlers, so that's one of the reasons why there are so many pigs on the Pentagon. But since this came out during 2009 when 5 was being made, it's more than possible that this is where Treyarch got their original inspiration from, because this blueprint can only be found in classified. It isn't in the original map 5. This was only clarified later on. It was a conspiracy back then, but I think besides from the obvious fact that pigs or animals in general are used as test subjects. It's not just pigs. You heard mention of squirrels, rats we know is a big one. So even without these articles, it's obvious anyway. Probably not to this extent with them trying to reanimate the dead, but it is super interesting. And I guess in a way, in our game, the Americans were successful because the crawlers which were made with pig DNA are reanimated undead corpses. They are zombies, so they use these pigs to create the undead. Around the map there is one pig alive that is suspended. We can see in these specimen cages there are a couple that are dead and that have been killed. It'd be interesting to know, were these pigs killed by the scientists here, or did this happen when the zombie outbreak took place? So were they killed by zombies or by the experiments that were done on them? But there are loads of them, and we have so many other creatures in COD Zombies that have been zombified. On Zetsubou no Shima we have spiders, on Gorod Kurova we have the dragons with their glowing eyes, we have the denizens or the bios, which are loads of different types of creatures, monkeys, etc. The hellhounds, which are zombified dogs. There are different types of zombies, the bigger brutes, Brutus, smaller ones, the Shrieker and the Napalm zombie, loads of different variants. Some of them we do know more about, such as Brutus, we know his background, but other ones we don't know that much about, how they came to be what they are. Considering the Ether story is wrapped up, it's a long one, there is so much information here. There are still bits of information that are missing that we would have to put together, but even then, a lot of that would be theory. But yeah, that just about wraps this up. A cool little sort of Easter egg that integrates into our storyline. Nothing interactable, nothing that we can decode, such as a cipher, but like a few Easter eggs in zombies that have come out lately. Because a lot of the main ones have been solved, we can now go back and look at real life stuff where Treyarch might have got inspiration from. And that's something I loved about the old zombie story. That's how zombies started to begin with. If we think of everything to do with Group 935 back in World at War, Darius, Shinonuma, etc., the Nazis, UFOs, the Bell, the Gold Train, a lot of the early stuff for the zombie story was influenced on real life, and since 5 came out still really early on in Black Ops 1, remember that Kino der Toten was originally supposed to be a World at War map. I would even class 5 as almost a World at War map itself. It still got that feeling that those ones did. This and a lot of other maps in BO1, BO2 as well, BO3 I would say is where it changed, take a lot of influences from real life stuff, which I really liked. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.